Welcome everyone to another Chamber Information Series webinar. This is put on by the Belfast Area Chamber of Commerce for our members in our community to keep people informed during this economic crisis and to help you with the changes required in your businesses and in your organizations. I'm Steve Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of the Belfast Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very happy to have on today Sean Myers and Alex Barnes of MidCoast Tech to talk to us about the top 10 tips for maintaining cybersecurity as we all shift to a heavy reliance on technology in communications and operations, and also the now very prevalent work at home. So welcome, Sean. Welcome, Alex. Why don't you dive right in?
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. All right. Can you guys see that all right?
Very good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like Steve said, we're going to talk about a few our top 10 cybersecurity tips for working at home here. Let's see. Oops. Can I move this? Okay, cool. There we go. All right. Like Steve said, my name is Sean Myers. I've been in IT and cybersecurity for the past 8 years professionally. I've personally helped hundreds of businesses work remotely and set up remote office locations. I started my own online business that my wife and I run from our office and remotely at home. And I'm a business consultant for online businesses. So needless to say, I've had a bit of experience with working remotely and making sure that we stay secure doing that. My partner, Alex Barnes, he's here with us as well. He's had 15 years of professional IT experience. He's been doing this for quite a while, guys. And he's a business technology consultant for online and offline businesses. He's also helped hundreds of businesses keep their systems and data secure. He is the founder of MidCoast Tech. He started that up in 2016, where since then he's been offering solutions to small and medium-sized businesses here in the MidCoast area. So Alex and I, we kind of joined forces, I think it was 2018. And at that time, we became MidCoast Tech, powered by AngelCom. Like I said, Alex is from here. I'm from the West Coast. I've been here for about 5 years now. And my company that I work for is called AngelCom IT Services. And like I said, we joined forces at that time. So let's go ahead and let's dive right in here. So with so many working remotely, cybersecurity is going to be a major concern, right? So with the stay-at-home guidelines that are now in effect, we've got thousands of people that are now working remotely. For the vast majority of people, this is going to be the first time that a lot of them have worked remotely at home for an extended period of time. So it's brand new to a lot of people. And not the time for us to forget about security, right? So phishing scams, other cybersecurity attacks, they're all on the rise right now. I mean, this has happened all over the place. You got a bunch of people at home. You got a bunch of people looking for stuff to do. More and more people are accessing workplace portals. And the likelihood of getting attacked is a lot greater right now. So there's many cybercriminals out there right now, and they're all looking for these different vulnerabilities that are out there. So we'll jump right into the top 10 cybersecurity tips for working at home. Number one is use multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is a step beyond using a strong and a unique password. So with this, you're setting up, you got to set it up wherever you can, right? So implementing multi-factor authentication is going to provide another means of verifying your identity, sort of like banking, email, social media. You can set this up for all kinds of stuff, and you should. In any case that you've got this available, you want to make sure that you set this up. So that's number one on our list, is just making sure to use multi-factor authentication whenever possible. Number two is password. Change that password, right? We don't want to use the same password all over the place, because that's just not very secure. And a lot of times hackers, bad guys, cybercriminals, they jump in, and if they find one of your passwords, they're going to try that all over the place. They're going to try it on every website that they possibly can. And if you're using the same one on all these different websites, there's a good chance that you're going to get, hacked in multiple places, right? So use a password manager or some sort of a system for maintaining those unique passwords. Password managers are really the best way to go. We actually have used a couple. We've used LastPass. That's pretty widely available. But now we actually have another one that we like even better, and that's called Passportal. It's really great. It's an awesome solution for being able to manage those passwords. So number three, and this one's pretty, I mean, these are all really important, but number three, patch your computer. This is super important, right? So if somebody does hack your computer, or somebody's able to get in there, it's going to be because probably it hasn't been patched. There's a number of reasons why they might get in. We'll cover some more of those. But if you haven't patched your computer and it's not up to date with the latest upgrades and updates, well, then you might have left a security hole, a security vulnerability available, and allowed them easier access. A big one right now is there's still a lot of people on Windows 7, right? So it took a long time for people to go from Windows XP to finally get to 7, but now we're seeing the issue with Windows 7. There's a lot of people sticking with Windows 7 right now. And that is no longer supported. It's no longer updated by Microsoft. So if you're using that operating system, there's a good chance that you're obviously vulnerable at this point, but there's a good chance, something could happen. So it's very, very important to, at all times, make sure you're patching your computer, get those updates done. Number 4 on our list here is beware of phishing scams. Okay, so these are like I mentioned before, there's all kinds of people out there that are doing all kinds of, the cyber criminals are at large. There's a lot more of them right now. So we got to beware. We got to be vigilant. We got to look out for these types of things. So if you ever receive an email, even if it comes from a coworker or a friend, never click on those links or open the attachments unless you have a verbal confirmation from the sender as to what that's going to be, and it's coming, right? So phishing can happen over all kinds of devices. I mean, you can get it email, phone calls, websites, mobile applications, more. This is the most common type of an attack that's out there. It's happening all over the place. They're using social engineering to get to us a lot of times along with this. So be vigilant, watch out. Hundreds of new coronavirus domains are out there, and they're being established all the time right now. Not all of those are well-meaning. There's a lot of fake websites out there. There's fake charities, false alerts, and more. So just be on the lookout and be vigilant whenever you're out there and you are browsing the web, or you're getting emails. Don't just believe anything that you read out there. There's a lot of scams going on. So remember that the email is the most common way. We see email all the time that's spreading malware. Once it's on your computer, anything you access, the criminal can access, right? So this includes websites, email, and even the corporate network. So it's very, very important to make sure that you are aware and wary of any emails that come through, and asking you for your passwords, asking you to log into something, saying that, oh, you've got this invoice, you need to pay it. Just be careful. Double check with whoever it is that sent it. Make sure that it is legit before you do anything with it. There are other ways you can actually look at the email and make sure that it is legit. Look at the sender. I mean, if it says it's coming from Verizon, but the sender, you don't recognize it at all, it's not a Verizon.com email address, well, there's a good chance that is a phishing attempt, and you should throw it away, get rid of it. Not only that, but if you happen to have clicked on one of these things, it's important to mitigate it right away. You need to call the professional and talk to them about it. Make sure that you're safe. Make sure that your data, your valuable data, your information is safe. So beware of these phishing scams. So be careful what you post online. This is another way that they'll get to you in kind of a phishing type of a thing. So like if you're at home right now, we're all at home and we're all getting lots of packages from Amazon. So if you're on social media and you got something really cool coming and you let everybody know that it's coming, sounds like a cool social media post, but it's also a way to give cyber criminals information that you really don't want them to have, right? So they can implement like a social engineering attack. So they'll give you a call, they'll maybe pretend to be the bank, or maybe they're going to pretend to be a service provider. They may ask you for your social security number, your credit card, or your passwords. If you ever receive one of these unsolicited calls, never give out any of your private confidential information. Look up their phone number on their website and call them back to verify. Like if you post something on social media about a package you're getting, you get a phone call from a Verizon number saying that they're UPS and that your package isn't going to be delivered, verify that before you give that person any more information. Make sure that they are who they say they are. So yeah, for instance, a cybercriminal could pretend to be your mobile carrier or a shipping provider, and they could send you a message saying that your package is being rerouted, and you need to log in to make sure it makes it to your location. So beware of malicious text messages, phone calls, emails, all this stuff. They're phishing in all kinds of ways. So phishing attacks it's a big one. Mobile devices can be just as vulnerable as a desktop computer. Beware of malicious apps and never click on links received in unsolicited text. So number 5 is check for malware. All right. So we really should all be checking for malware on a daily basis with our computer. We can do this with a nice virus scanner, malware scanner. So like when your computer's not fully up to date, there is a real risk that you may already be infected. It's very, very important that we check it out thoroughly using the definitions and behavioral-based virus scanner. So most virus scanners, like if you're using Windows Defender, it's going to be just a behavioral-based virus scanner, or I'm sorry, a definitions-based virus scanner, which means that a virus has to be defined, it has to be known about before it's going to catch it. So it's very important that you also use a behavioral style virus scanner along with your definitions, because a behavioral scanner, it goes out and it looks for malicious behavior, as well as check for definitions of predefined viruses, malware that's already out there. So make sure that your scanner does both of those things. We actually use a scanner called Sentinel-1 right now. It's the one we're putting on all of our clients' machines. It does both of those style scans, and it also allows us to, it notifies us anytime there's any kind of an event on the computer where there's a virus or a piece of malware is found, so that we can actually get in there and we can clean it up remotely, which is pretty cool. So there are a lot of them out there. Sentinel-1 is a great one. Number 6, be cautious with Wi-Fi. All right. So with Wi-Fi, never use public Wi-Fi for business purposes. Never use public Wi-Fi general. I mean, at home, you might not in remote places have to worry about that, but there's some places at home, like if you're in a neighborhood and there's a lot of houses around, there could be open Wi-Fi access points, right? The problem with these access points is that you really have no way of knowing who controls them. You don't know what they're doing with the data that runs through it. So all of your traffic is running through that thing, and you're giving the potential cyber criminal access to all kinds of information that is private to you and you don't need to be given out. So be cautious with Wi-Fi, with public Wi-Fi. Don't log in to anything that is just open like that, especially when you're using your business computers. Number 7, secure your home internet connection. All right, so this kind of goes back to what we talked about with public Wi-Fi. You really want to make sure your home Wi-Fi access point has a strong password as well. Don't just use the default one. Now, I mean, there's a lot of them that are coming out there with individualized default passwords, and they're a little bit more secure, but there are a ton of devices out there that are using just a regular, the default password that you can easily look it up online and find what that password is. So make sure you change the password on your home Wi-Fi access point, your router, your firewall. So you got to make that stronger. You got to make it harder for those guys, and make sure there is a password in general. The other thing is, consider using a VPN to connect to work resources securely, right? So if you've got a server at the office and you're connecting to it across the internet, a VPN can help you do that a lot more securely, fully encrypted on both ends. And you can actually get that set up so that you only need an actual device on one end, and you can use a software style VPN client on the other end, and you can work very securely. You can also use VPN in general. I mean, if you want to stay more anonymous in what you're doing online, there's a number of really good VPN applications that'll help you do that. In addition to strong passwords, you really want to make sure that your home router is up to date. Just like your computer, your router can have vulnerabilities that cybercriminals can exploit and make attacks. So not only do we want to make sure that our routers are got a strong password on it, but we got to make sure that they're up to date. We got to check the firmware on those to make sure that we've got the latest firmware. They're patching it just like they do with computers, and we need to make sure. If you want to find out, you can look at your router, check with your manufacturer to see if that applies to your device. Number 8 is back it up, right? So we got to make sure we're running local and offsite backups to ensure that our data is safe and secure in the event of an emergency. From your computer crashing to a cyber attack, this can save you from losing everything you're working on. It's very, very, very important. If something does happen, if for some reason you are compromised, this is your lifeboat. This is what's going to bail you out. You need to absolutely make sure that you've got both types of backups running. The local backup is very helpful because you can restore quickly. It's on site, you can restore quickly. Off-site backups are awesome because in a disaster case scenario, something happens to the computer itself, the location you're at, you can restore from an off-site backup and ensure that your data is safe and secure. So back it up, very, very, very important. We actually do the same thing with, we pretty much insist that all of our clients use both style of backup. And we also monitor that for our clients so that if anything does happen, if the backup doesn't run, we get a message, a little red flag, and it says, hey, something's wrong here. So we can jump in and we can help them fix that. Number 9, don't share your work computer, right? So we're at home and we're working at home, and it might sound kind of funny because, maybe we're just at home and we just got our wife and our kids around, but really, really, you don't want to share your work computer. The reason is that you don't know what your family members might be doing on there. If it's your work computer and your valuable data is on it, if they happen to do something online that, compromises your data, well, it's the same thing. And you just got to be careful. You just got to be very careful. So you should not be sharing your computer. You should have set up something that's separate. If you have to use the same one for work and for your personal stuff, go ahead, but just be careful what you're doing online. And don't share that with anybody if you can help it. If you have to, set up you could set up a separate user account for that person and make sure that everything is password protected and secure in between. So they may visit a malicious site and by accident or inadvertently expose sensitive data to cybercriminals. Okay. Lock up your computer. The other thing is that you can do is just make sure you lock it. If you walk away, if you got kids in the house, if you got other people in the house, roommates, I know that there's a lot of folks that have roommates out there. When you walk away from your computer, just lock it up. It takes an extra second. It's going to ensure that you've got access to it when you need it and all your data is safeguarded from anything accidentally happening. If you're on a Windows machine, you can press the Windows key plus L to lock it quickly. If you're on a Mac, you can press Control plus Command plus the Q button, and you can lock it up real quickly that way. All right, so number 10, the last in our list here is keep it digital. So avoid printing any confidential information to paper if you can help it. If you have to do it, make sure you don't leave these documents laying out. This once again kind of goes back to like who else is there, who else has access to this information. I normally you're at the office, so you have a lot more control over who has access, but when you're not there, you're working remotely, it's really important just to make sure that you don't leave any of these documents laying around. When you're done with those documents, you want to shred those immediately, never place them in the trash or recycle those. Okay. So the last thing is to keep calm and think it through. If you think something's happened right now, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are out there and the COVID-19, the coronavirus is happening. So people are already a little bit scared and on edge. And when people are scared, they're more prone to acting without thinking, without really thinking about the whole thing all the way through. So like I mentioned before about that phone call, like if you get a phone call from UPS, we're more prone right now because of how we're feeling to make a quick reaction to that. But it's very, very important that we just remember that we need to keep calm and we need to think it through. If you think that there has been an issue, if you think you have been compromised, the most important thing to do right away is just to call a professional and to let them know so that they can help you out. They can log in, they can check things out for you, and they can make sure they're going to ask you the right questions just to make sure. And they're going to be able to make recommendations based on what it is that you've said or what it is that you've gone through to remedy the situation, to mediate it right there. So, oops, where'd it go? So that's it with the slides. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions about this or anything else, if there's ever anything we can help with, this is our information. And that's the end of the presentation. So I'd like to open it up to any question and answer if you guys have anything.
Great, Sean. Thank you so much. I want to say we have just about 5 minutes left for questions. And I do have a question about some of the things we've read in the news. This Zoom app that we're using for this call has been criticized some for not being secure. Are there other apps out there you want us to know about, or ways that you can make these things more secure?
Well, Zoom has taken some steps recently with the exposure that they've had with all of the light that's been shed on those vulnerabilities. Like this call, if you notice, when we got on this call, we had to wait for you to let us in. So Zoom is taking some great steps towards making things safer. That said, yes, there are other softwares out there. Internally for our organization, we like to use Microsoft Teams. It actually happens to work really well. It comes with the Microsoft Office 365 Office suite. Microsoft Teams is another one that works really well, and it is nice and secure.
Very good. Any other questions? Any other details we want to hit on? Jim, go right ahead.
Yeah, so where we are all working from home and connecting to other people who are also working from home, I get a lot of some of my tech support people that are doing my software are also working from home. So I don't know what I'm connecting to out there. So of those pieces you mentioned, what pieces should I have on my system so I'm comfortable that whatever I'm logging into, it doesn't make any difference what's on their end, but that my end is safe?
In my opinion, you really need to take all of these precautions that we talked about anytime that you're working at all, remotely or online. When you're talking with people, and they're working remotely as well, I mean, we don't know what they're doing on their side of things. We can only hope that the person you're talking to, and it's most likely the right person if you've called them. So if you've called Microsoft, or if you've reached out to Microsoft and they've asked you if they could remote into your machine, you're going to have record of that, which is going to help, if anything does get leaked or exposed, because those folks are online with you. But that's really, it's just I wouldn't if somebody calls you and says, hey, you've got a virus on your computer, don't believe them. That's definitely not something you'd want to do. So you want to take as many precautions as you possibly can while you're online, while you're letting other people on your computer. You can watch what they're doing. Make sure, if they should not ask you for passwords for the most part. Most of those people, you can put the passwords in for them. Sometimes they will, if you have a private tech support company that's working with you. We share passwords in a secure way so that we've got them, so that we can help you whenever you need help. But we do that, like I said, in a very secure way using Passportal. So if these guys are asking you out loud for things, if they're asking you to send things over just email, these are all red flags. So just be vigilant when you're out there and you're online. Take the steps that we've outlined here. Make sure you've got virus protection on your computer. And at that point, you're doing the best that you possibly can. Alex, is there anything you want to add to that?
Just as a rule of thumb, because it's hard to know what the exact use case is with saying software development generically, but just basic steps: protect your network with a firewall and gateway antivirus, intrusion prevention, and like Sean was saying, make sure your machine is protected with antivirus and anti-malware. And watching closely anything that's going on the screen when someone's connected to your machine.
Absolutely, that's a good thing. Good point. I meant to touch on that whenever I talked about the home router. A lot of people just have a router. It's not a firewall technically, right? So really, it would be ideal if you could put a firewall in place, especially while you're working with sensitive information. It would be ideal to have it in place all the time. With a firewall, you're going to have what's called security services attached to that. And that means you've got somebody that's watching your back for you. And they're making sure that vulnerabilities don't get through to you. They also make other devices that you can throw on your network that I think might be easier for home users to manage. that help with that type of thing. But in all reality, if you're not familiar with that kind of stuff, yes, good to have one, but you really want to call somebody that knows about these things to set them up and just to make sure that they are set up correctly and that they're doing their job.
I think that's where we'll end it. I appreciate MidCoast Tech, Sean and Alex, getting on and trying to help us work at home safely. Thank you, gentlemen, and hang in there. We'll do this together.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you having us.
All righty.